Looking at long documents and being able to format them with different types of styles and page layouts is really important for you to be able to truly do what you want to with the document. We're going to practice on this document together, and what I want to do is make sure that you understand the difference between different page breaks and different section breaks, because they really allow you to truly create a formatted document that looks professional. So this is a pretty simple document. It's got some headings like introduction, small margin section, so on and so forth, and just some paragraphs. And this is really just dummy text for us to work with. And each of these bold areas represents what we're going to do inside of that section once we create it. But what I want to first cover is what is a page break and why would you use one? So when you're thinking about like, I want to take something and maybe I only want the introduction paragraph on this page and then I want everything else to pop down to the next page, that would be when you would want to use a page break. Because most people, what they do is they would click at the end of this paragraph and they'd hit enter a bunch of times and they'd continuously hit enter until they reach the next page. But what we know now that we have worked in a document before and looked at show hide, is if we turn on our show hide up here in the paragraph group, that will actually show that we created a bunch of paragraphs. And this is fine and dandy. I mean, it's a way to do things. Sometimes I even use it if I need to push something just a little bit and I don't necessarily need a whole page break. However, if I begin to add things to my introduction, like let's say I go to the end of this, I'm like, oh, you know what? I need another paragraph. So I'm going to go ahead and add another paragraph here. And you'll see that when I do that, all these enters actually and new paragraphs get pushed down. And what actually happens is my small margin section also gets pushed down. So I would have to go down to the next page and then select all these paragraphs and delete them. And that is just not an efficient use of time, right? So when you're trying to make a really big gap like this, or you're really trying to push to the next page, you can actually take all of this, and I'm going to go ahead and delete my second paragraph because you don't have that. And going back to what you had at the beginning, I'm going to go ahead and click at the end of this paragraph, and I'm going to go to the Insert tab and insert a page break. Now, a page break appears on the Insert tab here, but it also appears on the Layout tab under Breaks because it is in fact a page break. So I can do it on either the Layout tab or the Insert tab. You can also, if I do recall, hit Control Enter on your keyboard, and that will also insert a page break. So your show hide should be on, and you should see now that you have a page break after introduction. Okay, so sometimes it creates a blank paragraph, depending on where you're clicking. I would say if I want no blank paragraph, what's happening is this paragraph symbol is actually moving down and creating that blank paragraph. So if I didn't want a blank paragraph to pop up, you actually would click on the left of the first line of the next page, and then you'd insert a page break. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a page break now, and you can see no paragraph gets created this time because I was clicked at the beginning of this line and not at the end of this paragraph up here on the first page. Okay, so if I zoom out here, you can see I've got these pages, page break automatically pushes it. So what I want to show you is that the next section here, this paragraph, is supposed to be a small margin section. So we're just going to change it to small margins. So if we go, to margins and look at our options, we can go ahead and just like choose narrow, for instance. It's just supposed to be a smaller margin section to practice margins. So when we choose narrow, going from 1 inch on all sides to 0.5 inches on all sides, the goal would be that this section and everything below it would then be a small margin section, but that paragraph up on that first page should be still 1 inch each way. And you're probably like, well, why would I ever want to have multiple margins on a document? But actually, in the academic world, the first page of something sometimes has a 2-inch top margin and everything else has a 1-inch top margin. And I would also say that in the business world, there's actually a format for different types of business documents that also require the same thing, where you would have a 2-inch top margin on the first page and 1 inches beyond that. And that's something that's just out there. And business formatting is kind of funky because there are these rules and regulations about how business documents should be formatted, but they were like developed a long time ago and they keep getting updated. So if you ever ask me like, why is that the rule? I don't know why it's the rule. I just know it is because there's actual books out there like How 14 and those kinds of things that actually tell me what the rules are. And if you look it up, they actually say it online too. So, There are instances where you would want multiple margin page or different types of margins on different pages, especially like if you wanted to take something and like make it really big on a page and you wanted it to take up more room and you didn't need that full margin section, that would be a reason. So if I choose narrow here, you'll see that it will apply to this page and it'll adjust my margins, and I can see that up in my ruler up here. So looking at this, we've got a really small margin up here. If I scroll up, you can see the first page also changed. So when you use a page break, it's not breaking anything into any sections. There is no sections. If I go to margins, like we talked about before, and I go to custom margins, you'll see that at the bottom of it, it's whole document, and there's no section options because a page break does not create a section. It just pops you to the next page. It saves you time, it saves you energy, but it doesn't allow you to do different formatting. So I think it's really important to know that a page break does not allow different formats to occur. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control Z or undo for my margins, and we're going to start at the beginning of the next video talking about how to replace this page break with a break where we can adjust the margins.